Thank you, everybody, for staying back. I know it's been a long day for a lot of you. But I guess, as Katie said, we've tried to save the best for last. So, gentlemen, make sure you guys don't disappoint. So nice to, I guess, see you all on the stage, although we can't see any of you. My name is Arjun Singh. I'm a partner at a firm called Arthur D. Little, where I try and use some common sense with artificial intelligence. These days, more artificial intelligence than common sense. I think our topic is quite wide, right? In the sense we could practically talk about our pets, and even that would make sense. But I think with that said, I'll request the four of you to introduce yourselves, and then I guess we dive right in. Carlo.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Carlo, work for Booking.com. I am the Managing Director covering Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Thank you all. Nice to meet you. Nice to be here. My name is Dutta, and I'm the Group Vice President and Head of AI for DP World.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Alexis. I'm in charge of data analytics. I'm Chief Data Analytics Officer for L'Oréal in the Middle East.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tareq. I am the Country Manager for UAE and the GCC for Snowflake.
So great. Tareq, let's start with you. You're furthest away, so I guess you should get the first question. Take a vantage position from a Snowflake perspective, right? How are you actually seeing AI transform the way organizations are utilizing all that data that they have, structured, unstructured?
Well, Arjun, thank you so much. Allow me to start by thanking you, thanking the organizers, and definitely the guests. So that's a great question. Definitely, AI have took us by surprise. I mean, if there is no article or podcast that we can hear without having AI being the center of attention. And to be honest, if we ask ourselves what is it about AI that made it that famous, I believe it has transformed and changed completely the way we talk to our data. And we have established the fact that data is the fuel of transformation. So, if data is going to be the center of our attention, and AI is going to make it easier, faster, and even smarter to discuss and to talk to our data, that's the main objective for a lot of organizations. To completely transform their business, to create a business edge, and to find a competitive advantage. So AI has been the fuel of all these transformations happening. And in this region, we've seen this has been adopted massively.
Yeah. So let me sort of ask the follow-on question, because it's quite predictable, and let me ask that to the three of you guys, right? So AI has come. If you don't have good quality data, I guess you're challenged by fully using the potential. What has that triggered internally in your organizations in terms of your perspective to managing data better? What have you guys seen change? Any of you?
I mean, for Booking.com, we have a data-driven company. So data is the center of everything we do. So basically, AI is bringing us to the next level, or two levels up, I would say.
And what about organizations which are not typically traditionally data-driven organizations, if I may use that term?
I think it's a great question. I think data is central. We all agree on that. I think a lot of organizations have invested in sort of the data aggregation process. And in the DP World context, that means, for example, investing in a data lake much before. And so I think we are now in a position where we are ready to reap the fruits of that. The data we've already collected forms the substrate for everything we're going to do with it. Right? And so it's, if there is no data aggregation strategy, then absolutely organizations need to have it. And I think organizations that have invested already are going to benefit enormously from that investment. Because the one thing I'm going to talk about more over here is essentially that, context is everything in the context of AI models. And if a model doesn't have the right context to answer a question or complete a workflow, then it's not really going to do much. So I think that's critical, actually.
Alexis, from a
L'Oréal,
beauty company's perspective?
It's a very good question for us as well. At L'Oréal, we were collecting a lot of data, but we are not doing the best usage of it back in the time. But we did invest massively in the data collection piece a couple of years back. So AI has been, like you said, for us an accelerator in terms of impact on our business. We are going through a business transformation, leveraging AI. It's not a purely AI transformation. This is key because we are a beauty tech company. We have like beauty, but also tech, and we are leveraging tech to create the beauty of one, and so to have a unique and personalized experience for every consumer we are touching.
Great. Carlo, I love Booking.com. That's not a plug. So do my daughters. We were booking a holiday last night. I'm going to come and ask a question. Let's ask an outside-in question, right? AI is becoming prevalent. I think more and more people, even if they don't fully understand the power of AI, their expectation that AI is changing the way companies deal with them should happen, right? Your business revolves around, I guess, personalization. How are you seeing customer expectations shift? And you guys, how are you responding to that shift in expectations?
Yeah, so what we see is that the expectations from travelers are very high. They are also changing very fast. According to the latest consumer travel data that we have been able to aggregate, we see that 48% of the travelers are willing to trust AI to plan their trip, to plan a trip for themselves. In the UAE, we see that 71% of the travelers are also ready to use AI to curate trips in a more personalized way. And last data point, 2/3 of the travelers are also willing to use technology to make a better use, to make better informed decisions, and to find more authentic experiences. And what AI is changing for us, it basically helps us better understand the customer intent. And if we better understand the customer intent, then we can bring a much higher level of personalization, which is really what we're trying to achieve. You know, in the field of travel, the more you can personalize the experience, the more you create value for the travelers, the more you create loyalty. And what we are trying to build is basically the connected trip. And AI is at the center. Gen AI is the center of the connected trip, which objective is to connect all the different trip elements, all the different trip verticals. And basically, we have already implemented a number of customer-facing use cases to make the end-to-end trip experience much smoother and frictionless. And we also use AI basically to evolve our existing machine learning models. I was explaining that we've been using machine learning for about 10 years. So this is helping us move to the next level. And the last opportunity, it basically helps us improve the productivity of our employees. So we use programming assistants for our engineers, voice and text summarization for our customer service agents, and so on and so on.
Yeah. Alexis?
Yeah, I was about to build on top of it. It's exactly the same for us, as you said. So many facets in this business transformation with AI.
Do you want to move your mic a bit closer?
Okay, and so mainly, like, we are developing AI solution to optimize our internal processes, but still having as a final objective to impact and to personalize the experience of our consumer. So 80% of our efforts is like on the optimized process part, and we are also doing a lot of facing client use cases such as product recommendation and so on to create this filter, as you said, and to pick the right product, the right bundle, and to push it to the right customer. So it's very important for us because this is exactly how we are going to build a unique experience for each one.
Interesting. So let's go from beauty and travel to, I guess, global trade, right? How are you guys using data? How are you guys leveraging AI in its broader sense to both transform the way you operate as a business and the way you deal with, I guess, your entire supply chain?
Absolutely. We are using it extensively, and we've had a very transformative journey, a very interesting journey. And I'd like to talk about it a little bit. I think the biggest learning for us, honestly, is that for the entire enterprise, for all our users in the enterprise, you have to meet them where they are, which means that if the expectation is that people will constantly talk to ChatGPT and get a response back, I think that workflow has a ceiling, which means that after a certain point, there are diminishing returns. Which means that if you meet your people where they are, if you are already aware of the context and the data, then I think AI becomes incredibly powerful. And this is something that we've really sort of discovered over 2 years of experimenting with Gen AI. And as I was alluding to earlier, we have already laid the groundwork in terms of data collection. we have a data lake. Data in DP world is scattered across regions and across BUs, but we aggregate it and we store it. And so that structured data, all the operational data about our business is there. And on the other side, you have unstructured data. You have everything in your communications, your office, your mails, your documents, your PDFs, your SharePoint, all of that, right? So what we're moving towards is basically agentic AI workflows that can plan at a high level and really sort of execute processes end to end. Of course, there's human supervision involved. You can't just let the AI do its thing, right? There is human supervision. And agentic workflows, by definition, interact with the environment. When they do something, you've got to check it. Did it work or not, right? But we see enormous potential over here in this marriage of structured and unstructured data to answer essentially any question in the enterprise. And while we're in the early stages of it, the potential is just mind-blowing. We think that it is going to dramatically transform how work happens in the enterprise, and it's something we're very excited about.
So that's interesting, right? So you mentioned dramatically, exponentially. A key part of all of this is collaboration, right? So Tareq, let me come to you first, but this is a question for all four of you, right? So dive in as you would, but I'd request Tareq to start. So fostering collaboration, right, for data sharing to achieve the exponential potential of AI, both internally and externally, it's becoming increasingly clear, at least that's how we understand it. But at the same time, we have security, ethics on the other side of it, which tend to sometimes get, if I may use the word, either ignored or sidestepped, but then they usually come to, I guess, bite your backside if you don't get them right. What are you actually seeing in the marketplace happening, both internally as an organization and both as someone who's actually providing solutions into the market?
Yeah. Great question. So what I particularly like about the examples that my fellow panelists have brought is it all starts with having the data, and then of course, as we said and discovered, the AI have changed the way and transformed the way that we communicate with data. So it made it faster and much more efficient. And as we have also discovered that transformation happens because of the access of the data, and we find out that it's no more organization's data by itself. It's actually the collaboration between your ecosystem and your partners, data providers. Those are an important element for any organization to make the right decisions. So when it comes to your own data and sharing it with your ecosystem, Snowflake have built a very unique proposition towards the collaboration with ease, seamlessly, without having security or governance risks. And that have opened AI to do much more than only your data. So now the access is even way bigger and better. And the outcome is amazing because you've given the access to AI to reach, to leverage the data that you have, but also your ecosystem and data that comes from marketplace that we have as well built by the data providers, and those are important to your system.
So Alexis, what is your ecosystem? Where do you guys collaborate on data sharing?
It's a good question. So we are collecting data from a lot of different data points offline, online as well. And as you said, and as you mentioned, collaboration is key. So that's why it always starts, with data as a foundation. So we decided to break all those data silos we were facing first. For, as you all said, for AI to be used across data silos. So it was our first step. Our second step was to maximize the impact of this new technology, to bring and to save a lot of time and to bring even more value to our team members. So same journey as all the other panelists. I would say it was about breaking silos between teams, between the data, let's say, databases, to make the most of it.
So Carlo, you're not going to give me a pass on the second half of that question, which was, what are you guys doing around security and ethics? So could you focus on that side rather than the fact that you're collaborating? Because I'm sure you are. So what is it that DP World is doing differently or doing overtly?
The way I would put it is that you've got to be very robust about it, and there's just no other way, right? You've got to be you've got to involve the security teams in a very deep way, and of course there's compliance, which looks at ethics and all of those things. So there's just no shortcuts. But I'll just add one thing to that, which is that I think the first step really is getting people excited about what you're going to do with their data. And if you do succeed in doing that, then the rest of it does flow, right? Because everybody's aligned, everybody's moving towards the same goalpost, and it works. But there's no question that organizations need to have extremely robust security practices and compliance and ethics practices, because like you kind of alluded, the potential for a model just doing something wrong with the data is always there, and so these barriers, these guardrails, are extremely important. And so I think it's a process that has to be gone through. If it slows you down, sure, but at the end of it, you have a very safe and secure system. And so I think that has to be prioritized.
So Carlo, you obviously live in the middle of data, right? You work with a whole ecosystem of providers, upstream, downstream in your value chain or supply chain. What are you guys specifically doing around privacy, making sure that data is used ethically? Because there's a fine line, right?
Yeah. I would say when it comes to AI, data, privacy, security, safety really come first. So we are basically committed to ensure that all customer data is handled ethically and responsibly. And we think there is a clear role for regulations basically to secure or to ensure ethical and responsible deployment of AI. So, and we think we have a responsibility to contribute to shaping responsible AI policies, AI regulations. In September 2024, we have joined the EU AI Pact, pledging to work towards early compliance with the EU AI Act. So we are part of a group of 200 and more than 200 organizations which are proactively working to implement several of the key provisions of the AI Act, and also to establish best practices to mitigate AI risk-related practices, I would say.
Okay, I'm going to stay with you. I'm going to request you to wear the sector's hat, but you can obviously use Booking.com as an example for that. What's fresh? What to expect? What's downstream? How are you guys going to revolutionize the tourism experience for us poor souls?
Yeah, when I talk to industry stakeholders, to product developers, engineers in my team, data scientists, commercial people, basically they all say that, AI is creating new opportunities, new efficiencies that maybe a few months ago we thought were impossible. So basically, it's very exciting because when we look at what was on our roadmap, we see we have the ability to accelerate, to go even much further than what we were thinking we were able to do. So as I say, what keeps us awake at night is how can we make it easier for travelers to basically experience the world? How can we remove frictions from the travel experience? And basically, NI is enabling this. We have, just to give a few examples, we have launched already almost 2 years ago the AI Trip Planner, where basically we combine our own proprietary data with Gen AI to help the customer at the top of the funnel for inspiration and discovery, which is totally new for us. Initially, you look at Booking.com, you know where you want to go, which destination, you put your dates, and we give you our recommendation. So with AI, we can go much upper in the discovery funnel and inspire the travelers. We have also implemented smart Q&A. So basically, users can ask us specific questions, and we will use AI to retrieve the required information on the property listing, but also on travelers' reviews and photos, and can answer these questions. For instance, are there charging stations at the hotel we're going to stay, and so on and so on. We also use smart filters. We have more on the back end of our platform. We have more than 300 filters. You cannot display 300 filters to a user. That does not work. Maximum you can do is 30. Now what we can do is that you just use your words to define what you are looking for, and basically we will be scanning with AI all the information available on our platform, use the most relevant filters, and bring you the product, the accommodation that is really meeting at the closest your requirements.
Very interesting on this point to see the kind of shift that's happening, because what Carlo is mentioning is amazing in terms of customer experience and maybe the upstream also on the sales. But we're moving from the era of AGI, the artificial general intelligence, where you have to really set up the prompts right to get the right answer, to even something the ACI, the ASI, so the artificial super intelligence, where these machines will start even writing the prompts for you. They will understand what's going to happen, and that's going to make it even easier to get some kind of suggestions without you being, writing them and asking. So we've seen this happening, and it is, the access to data and the profiling of customers and all these things that happens securely, sometimes in clean rooms, like in Snowflake, it's going to definitely change the behavior of, how sales, how we interact with each other between systems and humans.
So Alexis, I'm going to come back to you. Beauty industry, right? How are these AI-led experiences evolving, either upstream in terms of how you engage with the client, the customer, but equally interested if you want to give some use cases on downstream in terms of how you're building these products, how you're curating them or chemically building them, whatever the right word is.
Yeah, so we are using both traditional AI and generative AI. So on the traditional side, as I said, it's more about have a better understanding of our customer behavior as well, and also to be at the right moment in the right place to push the right product to the right customer. So this is definitely personalization at scale. We are also at the same time using generative AI to enhance our internal activities. For example, to have to detect untapped opportunities. We invest a lot of time structuring our databases, making it available, as I said, to breaking all the silos, to be able to find these untapped opportunities. It's just one example among others, but it's a good usage for us of generative AI. We are just not only into, let's say, creative, new creative for our campaigns. We are doing it. We have a pilot on this, but this is a big part for us. But this is not the only one. We are also using it, as I said, to see these new trends coming, and how to address these new also concerns or opportunities we are facing.
So you have customers too. You also have a very complex and I guess a very far-flung, at least from the vantage point I'm sitting in. How are you guys using AI to get any closer to your customers?
I think it's a great question, and I think the applications are just enormous, and we are doing some really, really exciting stuff over here, which I'm super excited to talk about. As you know, our customers are basically the folks who use our ports and terminals to ship their goods to us, right? And so, and on the logistics side, we ship ocean freight, we do all of that, right? And so we want to dramatically improve the customer experience. And a large part of that, for example, in our ports and terminals business, is about dramatically optimizing that entire thing, the entire operation of the terminal. These terminals are extremely busy. 10% of all global trade flows through us. And so what we're using over here is we're using deep reinforcement learning, which I'm sure a lot of people here are familiar with, which is essentially the sort of the technology that helped large language models become reasoning models, right? But we're applying it in a different context, which is the optimization of our ports and terminals. So if you think of it as a sequence of operations, right? If a ship comes in, container moves to the yard, container goes out, container goes inland to the country. This is a very complex web of operations. And with DeepRL, you can essentially optimize it with a lot of simulations, by playing out a lot of what-if scenarios, essentially. The way, for example, Google DeepMind built a program that, beat the world champion at Go, which was a very sort of strategic game. But DeepRL was extremely useful at gaming out future scenarios and figuring out, okay, you know what, this is the path you should take. This is how you should play the game. It's not very different in terminal operations. And that's like a cornerstone of our efforts to improve this. There are many other things. For example, we are building a world-class model for predictive ETA for ocean freight, right? How well can you forecast? Really, really well. When a ship that's, or a container that's left a particular port, is it really going to reach 55 days later or 40 days later or 70 days later? There's a lot of variability over there. There's weather, there's global events, there's port congestion, there's a ton of stuff, right? So how do you put all these interlocking variables together and come up with a very sophisticated model that can do ETA for ocean freight? We're all familiar with ETA in traffic. You use Google Maps all the time. The equivalent for ocean freight is a field that's very much in development, and we're very excited to be at the forefront of it. So those are two things. And I'll just quickly allude to a third one, which is essentially, like I said, enabling the dynamic creation of reports on all our structured data. I think that's really critical. I think analytics is going to undergo a sea change, and that's another effort we're at the forefront of.
Yeah, fair enough. So, Tareq, let's flip the coin. It's all great. Everything is hunky-dory. You know, we're all going to be living in the world of AI, and none of us will, I guess, need to get out of bed because we'll have our agents doing everything for us, right? Barriers, right? I can rattle 10 being a consultant, right? But I'd rather hear from you. What are some of the big sort of barriers that you're seeing? And if I may, I'm going to add another angle to the question, which specifically Alexis and Carlo, if you could pick up, which is, what have been some of the pitfalls, if you are willing to share some of the not so successful stories of you trying to use AI? But I'll start with you, Tareq. Barriers.
Great question. So there's good news and bad news. So the good news is, you know, the adoption rate for AI has been amazing. In the past 2 years alone, we've seen organizations having 65% adoption rate in at least one function or more. That's all great. I mean, it took machine learning 10 years to reach to a 65% adoption rate. That's the good news. The bad news is that, you know, though that the adoption of the tools are high, but it's not in production. I mean, you'll find 75% of these tools are not in production. It's been used for some kind of an internal, purpose. 25% only goes to the production. And if we start digging deeper, what is it that have made the adoption low? Is three main reasons: quality, and security, and cost. And the main driver of these reasons are all data. So data quality, data cost, data complexity. So if you are able to solve this, you will be able to unlock the full potential of AI. And we in Snowflake think that if you don't have a data strategy, it's going to be very difficult to have an effective AI strategy. So you said, like, how can we overcome these barriers? A clean and clear data strategy will lead to a very defined AI strategy, which then will give you the full potential of these tools to be used, whether it was internal, external, and what have you.
But let me add to that, and because we're grappling with this question. Let me add a few more. In the financial services sector, where I spend most of my life, right, we have massive legacy infrastructure issues, right? The ability to actually, I work with large banks which are still operating completely on-prem, right? There is nothing on the cloud at all. And I read an MIT report about a year ago which basically said no cloud is equal to no AI. I then have a capability gap. Now, Booking.com might not, because that's in your ethos. You guys grew up at it. A lot of organizations just don't have the capabilities. They've not been able to ace advanced reasoning, leave alone AI, right? And then last of all, which is decision-making / culture, because a lot of guys sitting at the top, girls and guys sitting at the top of the pyramid, with all due respect, don't have a clue, right, on how to make decisions. How much of that is actually real? How much of that are you actually seeing in your industries? Is that really holding you guys back? Or am I just blabbling away for no reason?
I would say it's easier when you are a tech company based on data. Everything that I've just shared, we have a culture of testing. So we test. We do A/B testing all the time. So we do thousands of A/B tests on a daily basis. So all these new AI use cases, we have been testing them. So we have tested, failed, learn, fix, test again, fail again, learn, fix. And then after a number of tests, then you manage to have a product that basically where you have a positive signal because that's the right product for the customer.
But you have the infrastructure, you have the DNA, you have the capability. My question is, if those three things don't exist, right? How easy is it? And so let me ask you, right? You guys are a big business. You have legacy, has to be. Sure. You've come across. How have you guys adapted so quickly then?
I think it should be. There always has to be a core of innovators somewhere who sort of trigger things, right? And if you show people results, I think that they just want to move ahead. Everyone does want progress at the end of the day, right? So I think it really comes down to that. I think it comes down to having a core set of motivated people take the initiative, build these things out, because the technology at this point is so incredible. I mean, the models are becoming so smart in terms of reasoning and in terms of the capability that it's only a matter of time before that enormous capability is exposed very widely. And at that point, I think it becomes a no-brainer for decision makers to say, hey, this needs to be adopted. This needs to transform enterprise work as we know it. right? It has to. And for me, the most exciting thing about it is this concept of what we call elastic work, right? Today all enterprises, all departments want to do more, but there's a friction inherent in doing more. It could be hiring new full-time people. It could be, getting a budget approval or whatever, right? But if you can take away that barrier by rapid experimentation and iteration, because, an agentic AI will do it for you, at least do 90% of it for you, right? And if you can take away that barrier and suddenly, instead of attempting one thing, you can attempt 20, right? And 2 of them stick, right? Then leaders are going to sit up and take notice, right? And I see the transformation playing out actually fairly rapidly over the next 2 years.
Excellent. I don't want to end in a downer. I guess we're nearly out of time. We are out of time. Very short answers. Next 3 to 5 years, give us a bold vision of how AI is going to change your sectors. Start anywhere. Carlo, we go first.
So 3 to 5 years in today's world is it's very difficult to
2 to 3 years.
2 to 3 years. I would say, based on what we see today, I would say hyper-personalized and seamless travel powered by agentic AI.
Excellent. Less people in jobs.
Next 2 to 3 years, dramatic transformation of all enterprise workflows, and essentially a massive explosion in productivity, and therefore in economic grroth.
So more job losses.
So for us, I would say, like Carlo, hyper-personalization at scale, for sure. AI-empowered workforce is key for us as well. And I would say that's it. Yeah.
Tareq, bring us home.
For us, it's all about responsible AI and effective AI. And it all starts by having proper data management and governance.
And so that's what you think needs to get solved best.
Yes.
I agree. I think that's something paramount. Gentlemen, thank you. I'd like to thank everybody in the crowd too. Thanks for hanging on. I know it's late in the evening, so let's give the gentlemen a round of applause.